Welcome to the Evolved Educator podcast. I hope you're doing well today. I'm Michelle.
I'm Chanmi.
I'm Jennifer.
So I'm going to throw out a few words at you, and I want you to tell me what you think. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic, sophisticated, responsive, creator. What does that make you think?
Sounds like a job description for the 21st century.
It does, doesn't it? And that's exactly what our students are required to be able to do. They're pretty abstract ideas. And you know what? These kids, they were born into a world that's filled with technology and information that's easily accessible. It's just right there in their pocket. And it's up to us as teachers to get the students to master these things. But it takes time. It's very time consuming. And a lot of times it's very challenging. It's important that we do this while keeping the kids engaged and then offering them opportunity to feel a sense of satisfaction and creating a sense of where they leave wanting more. So that brings us to our segment. There is no such thing as a dumb question. So this podcast is called Run a Classroom That Demands Discipline and Expects Innovation. So when we talk about discipline in education, I would guess that the first thing that comes to mind is managing student behavior, classroom management.
Definitely.
Yeah, but really we mean something a little different. So we're talking about giving the students the opportunity to practice determination and tenacity by offering challenges for them to explore new ideas so they can learn how to be dynamic and responsive and be a creator, which leads to innovation. You know, it takes a lot of pushing through, which takes discipline to develop that creative thinking and produce something that's original. It's hard.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And to build those opportunities for the kids, this idea of productive struggle, there's a fine line between like productive struggle and frustration. Like to have them experience the struggle, but not get to the point of frustration, to the point where they would give up. So, and the rewards are fantastic if you can get them through the productive struggle. They just want more and more.
Right. That's where the discipline part comes in. Just can't give up. You have to keep pushing without giving into the frustration.
Yeah.
But words like technology and that collaboration, hands-on, those are those 21st century learning skills. It feels scary for some teachers.
It does. And, you know, I understand that because it's a lot to manage all those students in your classroom and their devices, and you can't see what they're doing. And
that's right. And sometimes the teachers aren't comfortable with the technology itself because that's always changing. You're getting new equipment. The collaboration can get really loud. Hands-on means there's lots more materials, a lot of transitions.
Transitions are huge. Yes.
Right. And that can be scary. So what do you do to create opportunities for students to be innovative and practice this perseverance and grit and productive struggle?
Chanmi, what do you do? I know what I do, but what do you do?
It goes back to planning. I have to be deliberate about what I plan for the students in terms of the skills I want them to gain and the content knowledge that I want them to learn. Planning ahead, all those things like transitions and knowing how I want them to manage those materials. So there's just all these many things I consider that are going to be consistent for every lesson. And the first thing is how, like I said about management, is how the technology be integrated. I don't want it to just be tech integration, meaning like you just substitute a computer for a pencil, but it's really thinking about how students will use the tech in a way that achieves their learning goals. Because we know that for 21st century, it shouldn't be substitution. We really, when we think of SAMR, we want to have them think of what kind of connections are they making? Are they able to learn outside the classroom? So the learning extends beyond the classroom walls. So that takes a lot of planning on the teacher's part of the soft and the concrete things. Definitely.
I think a lot about the groupings, how our students going to be working together.
Mm-hmm.
That skill of collaborating and communicating, obviously, that's something we need to practice over and over and over again every day. That's a life skill. They have to be able to problem solve with other people. So I think about where they're going to be, setting up a safe space for them to be able to share ideas and feel comfortable doing that. And actually, not even just, well, to the point of feeling so comfortable where they're not even thinking about it, where they just know different viewpoints are accepted and this is what we do here. Communication is the way that we get to the heart of things here. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about how the activity is going to be set up so the kids have those opportunities to talk with kids, other
Absolutely.
kids, partners, small groups.
But it was like being intentional about those groupings and having intentional activities that provide group work, because some people fear that the technology is going to make kids feel like they're going to learn in silos.
Right.
So basically they're sitting in rows again, but they just have a computer screen in front of them, which is isolation and kids not having social skills. So that grouping and that sense of collaborative work is really important for.
Well, and like you said, figuring out, putting those two things together, how are you going to integrate the technology with that? How can you use the technology and the collaboration, to get that productive
There's
stuff?
so many ways to do that. That would be a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll add that to our list. One of the things that I spent a lot of time thinking about is how am I going to be the facilitator? So really after the initial instructions, I do very little talking, and I spend most of my time just working kind of side by side with the students and offering encouragement so that they can persist through that process of learning. In my head, I have this image of myself walking behind students on this path where they are actually leading the way. And if they start to stray off the path a little bit, I might let them explore some, but then I kind of gently guide them back onto this path. And so that's how I think of myself as a teacher, that they're really leading the way, and I'm just making sure they keep going in the right direction, because I know where I want them to end. So that's how come I can, keep them on the right path.
Right. That's the planning. You know where the end is for them, so you can guide them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have that luxury of going off a little bit and going through that productive struggle. And figuring out, sometimes they don't need me. They can figure out how to get back on by themselves, but I'm always there making sure.
Recently actually just heard the analogy of a teacher being more like a tour guide. So I just love that analogy in the sense of what you were just saying, Michelle, about being a facilitator, is that the tour guide is behind the scenes. You really the whole main point is the journey, but the tour guide can be there to help plan some things, but really the experience is up to the student, and they go for the experience. So
what they're going to get out of it. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's worked very well for me for a long time. So the lesson here, the final.
So regardless of the subject or the grade, all students can learn sort of this discipline that it takes to be innovative when the learning experience is really well thought out. The students will know when they walk through the classroom door that they're expected to be thinkers and problem solvers, because you've set that up, that experience.
Well, this brings us to our segment, Strategies That Get the W. And as you know, each time we like to send you off with a little goodie, a strategy that you can use in your classroom. So what do we have today?
So I was thinking, because we were talking about this whole thing about discipline and innovation, is creating models to represent abstract ideas. And I really love this because it requires students to use reasoning and develop a plan. And I always love a strategy that requires more than one possible answer, because it really allows the students to shine in their own special way, which then provides another opportunity for differentiation. But again, it's in the planning. You need to know where you want your students to end and what's expected of them, and explain that to the students so they know where they're supposed to land by the time this is all over. But I really like it. It sounds like it sounds really challenging, and it can be, but students have really surprised me over the years with creating something of a really abstract idea.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
I have. I've done it several times, actually, using different materials and things. You know, sometimes you just kind of find or use whatever you have laying around and say, you know, can you show me this idea right using these popsicle sticks or whatever, you know?
Right.
And it's amazing what they can come up with. The coolest part, I think, about it is when they explain it to you. I mean, it's just so good for everybody to hear all these different perspectives and how people are viewing things and seeing things and visualizing things, and then they're putting it into words. I mean, it's just such great stuff all around. Listening, speaking skills, and the creating, and then explaining your creation, and it's
and it just allows for those the concepts to just be solidified in a different way.
Right.
Yeah. It is
that social intellectual skill of just seeing other people's perspectives and different interpretations. It's pretty awesome.
I just read an article today about how learning is very social. But again, another day.
Put that on the list.
Yes. But it's very interesting. All right. That's all we have for now. Thank you.